Well, I'm in the rat race. This is what it's about. Nah, but I've been thinking the last couple of weeks. I actually changed jobs about a month ago, and I don't know. I'll just say this: I am blessed that I got this opportunity. I was a couple years back. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I got a job opportunity at my last employer's location, or got a job offer at another place, and I was able to move back to the city. I was living in a small town, and so I was like, I'm single at the time, and I was my mid-30s. Let's see, mid-30s, and I was like, man, I need to get back where there's stuff to do, people to meet and that kind of deal. And so I was really ecstatic about this new job opportunity, at the time, this couple years back. And so, the first couple days, really, I guess it was like after the first week, because I was staying at a hotel about a couple miles from where I was to be working. So it wasn't until a week later till I was staying with a family member's in the meantime of me finding a place to live more permanently, that I was driving like 20 miles or so to work, and I was running into this traffic, and I was like, holy cow. That was my first impression, was like, this is the rat race. This is what everybody's, you know what I mean? And I knew it. I've drove 30 miles in the city to work where it would take an hour, so it wasn't like anything I was never experienced. It was just a realization again that but either way, I don't want to get too hung up on that. But these last couple of weeks, I've changed jobs, and I'm blessed to be able to make more money here. But there's also sacrifices with that, and I've contemplated a little bit about if it was worth it, and so far I believe so, because while there was some things that I had to sacrifice, as of now, to it's 7 o'clock here in the morning, but there is some things that I would still like to do, but I kind of put on hold just because of this opportunity. And anyways, what I'm getting at is there's been sacrifices made, and I've contemplated on if it was worth it. I believe so as of now, because it's kind of like a means to an end. This is just like a stepping stone in my journey, and I'm grateful. I'm not trying to take advantage of the job or anything like that. People have lives, and things change and move on, and one thing I won't talk about that really. I don't want to get sidetracked, but one thing I was thinking about is I guess just in general, what, as I'm driving here, I woke up this morning and I was kind of sitting there thinking, one of the first thoughts that comes to my mind is what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? I'm a couple years away from 40, and I know not everybody comes from the same background and has the same challenges in life and whatnot. In some ways, I've developed, I kind of grew up faster than probably the average in America. In other ways, I was kind of a late bloomer as far as like career, what some people would call career, or kind of look at as successful, in here in the States. But anyways, so I guess what I am saying is, I have to. I've been thinking, like I said, this first thought that's come to my mind, and it's not just the first day or first few times. It's almost seemed like pretty regularly. I wouldn't say every day, but I wouldn't say once. I mean, it could be half the week, where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And I get this sense that it's like, and I'm like, is it midlife crisis? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I won't get off into the weeds about this. I mean, I have had 2 brothers pass away. My little brother recently, in back in 2020 did, and my older brother back in 2017. So it's been a bit. It's just, and I don't know if that's affected me. I had a good friend when I was 19 years old pass away. Still talk to his family to this day. But so I don't know if events like this have happened, that affect me. I'm sure they do to some degree, without a doubt. Just not sure how much it's influencing in me. What I'm gonna say is having these feelings of like life is gonna end soon. Now I'm not thinking I'm gonna die tomorrow or anything like that. But for some reason I get this urgency of, what are you doing? We need to do something. This is all gonna end at some point. And do I want to spend my life, basically, 2 hours a day driving to work, 1 hour 45 minutes or whatever that way, and another hour and 15 minutes back home. That's 2 hours. That's, now thankfully I'm able to work from home on Fridays as of right now. But, that's, 8 hours, if I was working there 5 days a week, it's 10 hours out of my life. I mean, that's like a whole day's sleep. That's, figure out whatever someone wants to do with, even say they only had to commute 30 minutes. That's 5 hours or 4 hours a week. If they, they could do some hobby or catch up on sleep or read or, go to the gym, do something around the house or whatever, that they can do with their life, basically. And so, I mean, I get it that people have to work. I sometimes question the structure or the way things are set up, at least here in the States, that we value, in a way we value, or at least what's sought after as good and successful is, and this is all kind of subjective really, but I think that it seems like the consensus is obviously how much money you have, what kind of car or you drive or where you live, and those kinds of things. But it's like, I guess what I'm saying is it seems like our priorities are a little skewed. And again, that's subjective. Priorities are subjective. What's important to me may not be important to the next person. And I understand that too. So, but I guess what I'm, kind of thinking about more or less is just the amount of time we spend, basically chasing the almighty dollar. Like I said, driving 2 hours. I've talked to people where I work at now, and they've said that I think one of them's driving like 70 miles to work in the morning, and well, back and forth. But obviously, I'm pretty sure, just like most people here would, it probably takes longer to get back to home, or like if they were gonna go straight home from work. But I think they said, it was like a couple, like 2 hours or something. I know it's 70 miles if you're driving 70 miles per hour, but that's not the case. I'll ask them, but either way, they're taking a long drive. And so, you're literally chasing the dollar. And it's kind of unfortunate in ways that we the way I look at it is there's plenty to go around, plenty of resources, not money. I'm sure there's plenty of money. They could just put digits on a screen or print some more paper, basically. That's what it is. And it's the illusion of of value, really. That's what I question. What is valuable? Because while paper and digits on a screen can be, well, essentially manipulated very easily, and carelessly, to say the least, that our whole system revolves around, and like the normal person, people like put this, that's what we have to pay in. So it's like kind of we're almost forced to use it. Like go to any store there, of course they can take card or some sort of electronic payment, but it's cash. It's the American dollar. Just like anywhere, like the British pound or whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is we put so much emphasis on this in our lives. Literally, like I said, 10 hours a week just driving, to live. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to acknowledge and be aware that a lot of people, there's the haves and there's also the have-nots. Anyways, I guess really kind of what I'm rambling about is just the emphasis on what we made this. People have made this system. People have made, and put these systems in place, and it's like this is the best we could do. And again, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for my job and the opportunity and being able to make this video and talk with people, get some ideas going, and anyways, kind of going back to what I was talking about with just like this. What am I doing with my life? My 20s, I drank away for the most part, and I could share about that at another time and kind of maybe have influenced that. But what I've done in my 30s, I could have probably done in my 20s. I could have used that time better. I've made what some people would call success. I've made some good progress with my life in that manner, in the American, perspective of, job and that kind of deal. Job, savings or whatever. I've done pretty good, I guess, for the last, say 4 or so years of my life. So I am grateful that I was able to make some good steps as far as that. However, again, I question, just what is it all for? Like, I get it, like, to live and everything, but I don't know. I don't have kids, so I can't say, oh, it's to take care of my kids. Anyways. So, but I do question, like, what am I doing? Like, this is one life you get to live one time. I'm not saying go do something wild and crazy. I mean, to each their own, I guess I probably would have taken a little bit more risk as far as like right now I've been thinking for the last year almost to move abroad and teach English. I mean, how many, at least in Western civilization, or at least America, I should say, United States of America, how many people move, out of country to live and to work for a few years at the least, or, a year, but I would have at least a few years, because, yeah, you're somewhere a year. It takes you a good little amount of repetition to get settled in and get the hang of things, especially if you're like speaking a totally different language that's and culture. I mean, you still be getting used to it, I would imagine. I mean, I visited overseas in a few different countries, but not a lot. I mean, my longest stay out of country was 2 weeks in Vietnam recently, I guess 6 months ago or so. And you're visiting and you got that initial high of, oh, this is so neat. It's a really cool place for sure. But you're not settled in with like a routine on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of like you're kind of still just in that vacation mode, more or less. But anyways, so this is just some thoughts that I've had recently, of kind of going back. It's like you've had people pass away, and then you wake up, and one of the first things in the morning is like, what am I doing here? What am, not living, just like in general, just what am I doing with my life? Something literally feels missing, and that's okay. Like, it's not like, oh, this is so sad, this is a depressive state, oh, he's depressed, oh, midlife crisis or whatever. It's literally just something. My intuition, my heart is letting me know, like, hey, maybe there's something else to look at. Maybe, and I'm kind of an adventurer. 20 years ago or so, I used to work this motorcycle shop, and this woman that worked there was it's funny, she drove like the biggest motorcycle out of everyone. Like, I had like 600 cc sport bikes. I had 1,000 liter bike, 1,000 cc, but she rode a VTX 1800. It was almost twice the size, the cubic centimeters of the motor, as almost a liter bike. It was 1.8 liters, the size of car motors, basically, as far as engine displacement. But anyways, she was like, you ask a lot of questions. You probably wore your mom out. Why this? Why that? Why? And it's like, because I asked why. Like, why do, like, I want to know. I'm curious by nature. Like, I love to like learn new things and understand how some things work, and that could be a downfall in some ways. I'm kind of an analytical person, but anyways, it's like I'm an adventurer. I like to see new things and explore. I mean, I used to play in creeks when I was a kid, and it was almost like an adventure in itself, just crawling into a creek and climbing through bushes and limbs and stuff like that, and up trees and crossing creeks, anyways, so it's there's so much to life that there's so much to life and so much to learn and explore, or just enjoy, just being in the presence and experiencing, whether it's the same thing every day or something new. I don't know, y'all tell me what's been on y'all's mind, or what y'all have been thinking about, what y'all like to do. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. Getting pretty close to work. But one thing I do get to enjoy, it's probably hard to see. On good days, I get to watch the sun come up as I'm driving to work. And sometimes it's a nice one, nice sunrise. And anyways, so I've had to adapt coming into work. It's a farther drive, and if I leave the house at a certain time, it gets it's funny how traffic is. Like, you could leave 5 minutes or couple minutes could just really change your trajectory on your arrival time at work. Just, I don't know, it's so weird. So I've been leaving earlier to work, even though it's almost 7:30 now, just to get there. And so I'll get there early and still trying to figure out, with my boss, what time is appropriate time or reasonable time I could leave, if I take a shorter lunch and that kind of deal. But anyways, yeah, so much has been on my mind, and one of the main things is what do I want to do with the rest of my life? If you hear all different kinds of things, live in the moment, and if you only had 2 years to live, what would you do now? That kind of deal. And that may be a good suggestion for some other people. I have not really adopted that, but I guess in a way I do feel or think about that kind of in a way that's like, what am I doing? Life could end 2 years from, 2 years from now. What if your life ended, and so, maybe I have kind of adopted that in a way, or maybe something is urging me to kind of think more along those lines. Since, there's stuff like that, and then, I don't know if, a lot of people think like that or not. Like, what do they really want to do with their life? And is it because is it because we've kind of been conditioned that this is what you're supposed to do? One of the things that when I was growing up is my family and others, I'm sure a lot of people could attest to this, that they would hear, go to school, make good grades, go to college, make good grades, get a good job, probably get married, and that kind of deal. I mean, pretty typical. I don't know if that's the, verbiage going on now. I can tell you that that's what it was when I was growing up. And, anyways, so I don't know if people think about what they want to do actually with their life, or if it's all kind of, conditioned, and they've been this is how they grew up and were told to live. So people have adopted that. And I think that's one thing that has been, they say culture is king. That's one thing that was hard for me. It's still hard because, it's like, and maybe it comes from fear. Fear of like, or the, fear of not having enough, or like lack. It's like, oh, well, if I go and move to another country and, make $1,000 a month teaching English, would I have enough to live? What about retirement? Oh, I'm not gonna have enough money when I get old. I'm gonna be, whatever, fill in the blanks. And so, it's like, is that conditioning? If, nothing, they say nothing's guaranteed. I mean, if people, 2008, Great Depression, those kinds of things, like, there's some people, I guess, that work for the government, and I don't know how that works, because, it's like they're promising people pensions, and yet it's like, who's the one paying for those people's pensions? It's like people like me, people like you. They're the taxes, so basically we're paying for other people's retirement. You think that that's fair? Like, no one's paying for my retirement, and just because I work for a city or a state or something like that, like no private, or like no company in the, what would you say? I kind of get that mixed up, like public, and the private sector, does that. I mean, there's some pensions, but that's on the company. That's not on the taxpayer. And you can argue, well, if they get bailed out or whatever, but anyways, nothing's guaranteed. And so it goes back to like, okay, if nothing's